Hi, I've got guys asking different questions on different components to move on trucks, whether it's injectors, turbos, EGR coolers, oil coolers, the FICMs, all the different stuff. So on this truck, I'm going to be doing a lot of it. I'm doing a turbo, I'm doing an EGR cooler, I'm doing oil cooler, I'm doing injectors. So I'm going to use this truck to hit some of the highlights to help you guys on showing you what to remove and what to do. So the first thing I'm going to remove is the turbo. So let me show you over here what I do, some of the pointers. There's a, you always want to use the WD-40. Take your WD-40 or some kind of lubricant. Spray your clamps on the charge air cooler hose, but mostly the clamps, the band clamps around the exhaust on the turbo. Spray them. Not just on the threads, but you also want to spray them on the clamps so it loosens them up. If you try to get these things off dry, you're fighting them. You spray them with WD-40, they pretty much almost just want to loosen up right by themselves, just right after spraying them. So anyhow, we're really going to soak those. Let that sit for a second. I'm going to take off the stuff. One of the main things I want to emphasize here, depending on the year and the clocking of your alternator, it could be in different places, but the wire from your alternator goes straight over here to your passenger side battery. It's a good idea. Only takes a second. Just take your cable off of here and tuck it away safely. Now we don't have to worry about sparking the alternator. That's the first thing. So anyhow, I'm going to start to do some of the bolts, and then I'll show some of the tools and hit the highlights of taking the turbo off here in a second. Okay, some of the highlights on the turbo removal and the tools that I use, I'll go over right here. For the driver's side rear bolt, I use just a long extension, 18, 24 inch, whichever you come up with. Then I also use a 10 millimeter swivel. It does good for that. I'll show you in a second. If it's a 04, made after September of 03 or up, the bolt on the very back passenger side of the turbo, it's pointed straight up and down like this. So I use a 6-inch extension and a 10 shallow. Works perfectly. And then on the front, now if it's an 03, early 04, then I use this wrench, which I've discussed on some of the other videos, and I show it how I made it and how it works. It works great on the 03s with a notch cut in there, and with a pry bar. I went over it where it's in the back being pointed here. It's more or less it's a vertical bolt, and I'll pry against the turbo to break it loose. That's for the 03, 04. So I just wanted to show that. And then also if you have these two wrenches, it's great for undoing the lines in the clamp, and I'll show you that right now what I do. So anyhow, back here I've taken a door panel tool, pulled the 3 clips out of the wire here and lifted, and also taken it out from underneath here, and I bunged it back to the wipers. That exposes it, helps to open it up. So anyhow, with my swivel and the 10, I'll go down here, get this bolt. Pull that one out. The 11 millimeter or 7/16, if you got one of these ratchet wrenches that flex, it's great. I'll take it, lay down here and get the clamp. Now I just loosened it up, and if with it being loose, and since it has WD-40 on it and it's been soaking, it's pretty good. You can either remove it all the way, take it all the way off, or you can just move it out of the way. It's not that much more effort to take it all the way off. People have their own preferences, so I'll take it all the way off if you like. That's for the rear one. For this one up here, the exhaust one, also on the turbo, a couple things. People ask me which ratchet I'm using. It's a Milwaukee 12 volt. This thing's great. And I also use a 3/8 deep socket with the adapter on it. I need this for the clearance to get it around the clamps. So we'll take this and loosen these up. Again, what I do is I loosen them up just enough so I can unlatch it. So I loosen them up to about this point, somewhere we got maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch of bolt left, and it's on the vehicle like this. Then I'll push it back and pull it off. And then also when I'm taking out the vehicle, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll stretch it like this, and once I've opened it up a little bit, I just tweak it a little bit. Not so much that I've hurt it or damaged it, just enough to open it, and I can pull them off. Now see, this one's a little bit stuck, so we can try two things. We can hit it with WD-40 again. And then with the WD-40 on there, usually if you just tap it, you can hear it. It come loose, and that's thanks to the WD-40. And you just pull that one off. And the same thing here when you're doing the charge air cooler. Best advice I can give is to I mentioned this in the other videos. I never pull them off at the pipe. Just the reason being is people have a tendency to over tighten these. You crush your tube, the pipe, and then it's junk. It doesn't want to stay on. Every time it starts to boost, it comes off. So my best recommendation is to always pull them off at the at the turbo end, at the charge air cooler end, and that way if you do over tighten them, you break your clamp or you strip it, at least you're not out the expensive pipe. And just to aid in when I'm going back together, the clamp, it almost always falls out as you twist this off on the charge air cooler. I'll take it, I'll put it on like this, in between the AC hoses, AC lines, and then it's also easy access. Taking it off, I had to use this. Going back together, I'll just hit it with this because it's going to be at an angle that I prefer, and it helps out. So back to the tools that I use here. I'll just take my 10 wrench. You don't have to have this. If you guys don't have this, no big deal. You can use a flat wrench. But at least with this, it's stepped. It comes up, it goes over, it's pretty easy. And also, I use the same wrench here for the front one. Break it loose, and then it comes out pretty easy. Now for the back one, like I was mentioning, 04 and up, 6-inch extension, 10mm shallow, and then a flex ratchet makes it handy. Then we have the that off. Let's get these lines loose. A lot of times you find your front bolt missing. That's pretty common. They're known to vibrate out. So if it's missing, you'd normally find it in your turbo. So now I have we have the line off. Some of them, 06 and above, they won't flex here. So you have to remove your oil line. This is your oil supply line to the turbo. If so, you have an 8mm, well, it's a 6mm bolt, 8mm head bolt for your oil line. Then you have to loosen it up down here. And if you do have to take it off, this is a pry bar of choice for me. You can buy imitation ones from Harbor Freight. Snap-on makes this one, but like I said, if you don't want to spend the outrageous money from Snap-on, buy it from Harbor Freight. If the bolt was loose, I would just pry up on it right here. When you have the solid lines or the updated lines, that's how it is. So anyhow, we have all the bolts removed. I'll move the exhaust off. If you have the stock exhaust, it has a hook on the back. That's what I did. I just undid the hook. Now we have the all three bolts out. Take it, pry it. Anyhow, with the alternator disconnected, we want to make sure the battery's disconnected so that you don't have any arcing, we don't want any problems here. So just take the turbo, lift it out, You can see here I'm twisting it like this, rocking it, and it comes out. And then it's, so anyhow, there's a turbo off in real time in what, probably 10 minutes. So we're gonna, on this truck, we are going after, like I said, EGR cooler, oil cooler. We're gonna be doing injectors, so I'm gonna show different points and highlights of different areas where somebody may have a question, maybe help you speed you up. Then again, if you have some advice to me, maybe I'm overlooking something, you guys can show me some tricks too. Thank you.